It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, they're both here. We're going to talk about the newest Windows phones. Paul has some review units. He'll give you the lowdown. Also, the gotcha for Satya. CEO Satya Nadella had a little bit something to say about raises for women. Mary Jo Foley's take. And a whole lot more, all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 384, recorded October 15th, 2014. Gotcha, Nadella. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Shutterstock. With over 42 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code Windows1014. And by ITProTV. Are you looking to upgrade your IT skills or prepare for certification? ITProTV offers engaging, informative tutorials streamed to your Roku, computer, or mobile device. For 30% off the lifetime of your account, go to itpro.tv/WW and use the code WW30. And by Citrix ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with Citrix ShareFile. Try ShareFile today. For a 30-day free trial, go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with two of the most astute, connected, vibrant, and exciting Microsoft watchers in the business today.
Wow. And also Paul and
And then Paul and Mary Jo. Yeah, I was thinking of Dr. Pizza at the time. No. Paul Thurrott from the super site for Windows, winsupersite.com. And Ms. Mary Jo. Now, Paul wants to be taller than you, Mary Jo.
Yeah.
He's adjusting his cameras. There you go. Now you match. Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com. Just don't touch it now. This is not a competition, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to have you both.
Thanks.
Things have calmed down in the Microsoft arena. Merely Satya Nadella talking smack about ladies, and that's about it.
That's it.
Mary Jo, just to be clear, you owe me a drink.
What? Did you guys have a bet?
Yep.
Why is everybody... So Paul and Adam Curry had a bet. I mean, John and Adam Curry had a bet that I would defend Satya Nadella. Adam Curry said I would defend Satya Nadella. And now you guys had a bet, what, that I'd bring it up before we even got started? Was that your bet?
Yep.
Mary Jo and I had an animated discussion before the show about which story should be the top story.
Mary Jo, what was your feeling on this?
Docker.
Docker?
Docker containers come to Windows Server. I actually did think that should be the top story.
You thought that should be the top story? Okay.
Yep.
I still don't even know what it means, but I'm glad that you thought that was the lead.
You'll find out later.
And Paul Thurrott,
teaser.
that means you thought that Mr. Nadella should be the lead.
Yeah.
The fact that he hates women. Well, so you compromised and you buried the lead.
That's, yes.
Those are even the words that Paul thought you might say.
Man, I think you should get a gallon of beer
if you
now.
don't put this at the top, he's going to mention it right up front, and he's going to say, you buried the lead.
I am so predictable. I'm kind of disappointed.
No, I don't think of it as predictable. I think of it as familiar, and it's understandable.
Paul thought it should be the lead, too.
Well, you know, it's funny because what I said on Twit on Sunday was I don't even want to cover this story because I feel like it's a little bit of gotcha journalism. Unless you think that this is, and this is what I said.
I think that's what Mary Jo's argument is.
Yeah. Unless you think that this reflects kind of a deep-rooted bias, an institutional bias at Microsoft or with the CEO of Microsoft, No. I don't feel like he...
by the way, I waited over the weekend before I wrote about it. And the reason I did is because it's too easy to kind of knee-jerk something like this. And the woman that was interviewing him, I can't think of her name, I'm
Microsoft
sorry.
director.
as a Microsoft board
Maria
of directors.
Clow.
Yeah.
Maria Clow.
Maria Clow.
Yes, she said
corrected him
she mentioned that
immediately.
it was perhaps an Indian cultural thing, and that he didn't mean it toward women, but rather toward anyone. That
Karma.
That's their karma. The karma is kind of an English. I'm sorry.
It's a
Indian
Buddhist.
cultural.
It's a Buddhist notion or a Hindu notion. I don't know which.
Okay, whatever. But like I said to Mary Jo last week, you don't have to be standing in front of a crowd of women at an event celebrating women and be asked a question about what women should do with regards to asking for a raise. I think 99% out of 100, people are going to get that one right. In fact, it would have been very easy for him to have said something very basic that, he would have been let out of the room to cheers, So I think it's newsworthy that someone who is so careful and calculated, someone whose very utterances could change the stock price of Microsoft. And are you okay, Mary Jo?
They're coming through the wall for her.
I don't know if you can hear what's going on.
I'll tell you who hates women. Those guys next door. That's who hates women.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway.
You know what? It's not as loud to us as it is to you, Mary Jo, so don't worry.
So I would just say that I think the ultimate result of this will be very positive. In other words, the reason he went there was to draw attention to the fact that there is great inequality in tech in particular when it comes to women and income and raises and money earned and so forth. And he may have went about it not exactly the best possible way, but you know what? Microsoft's going to be pretty focused on that now, isn't it?
Accidentally, he's made that.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. I mean,
John C. Dvorak said, and he might be right, expect lawsuits now from women who might have been passed over.
Oh, yes.
Now they have a smoking gun.
He's not. When he speaks, not only are his words analyzed closely by many people, but like I said, he can literally impact the stock price of Microsoft in very horrible ways if he's not careful. Yeah. It makes the whole thing a little...
It was kind of a strikingly tone-deaf remark to say, particularly
he's so eloquent normally. Yeah. I think for that reason alone, it's interesting. I
feel like it's gotcha journalism because I can't imagine that that's his actual belief is that anybody, male or female, shouldn't ask for a raise if they feel they deserve one. That's it.
Someone asked him a question point blank and he said that. Yeah. He didn't then say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was a stupid response. Let me correct that." Well, he literally let that one hang in the air and left.
Well, Maria Clow fixed it, and he corrected it on Twitter.
He corrected it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, because some of his PR people said, Mr. Nadella.
Yeah. And even Maria Clow, who was interviewing him, said, "Wow, I don't usually disagree with you, but wow, dude, what?" Yeah.
And I'm a director on the board of your company, and you're saying that we may have a problem here, Mr. Nadella?
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, I think it's newsworthy. And it certainly is an interesting and pertinent topic. His hatred of women, that is. No, I mean, the notion of inequality in technology.
Well, so let's nail this down right now. You guys know him somewhat. You've interviewed him, Mary Jo. Yep. Do you think that he has a bias against women in the workplace?
No, I do not. In fact, since he's become CEO, they added a woman to the board, so that changed the ratio of the board a little bit. And they added a woman to the Senior Leadership Council at Microsoft. They just published their stats and were very public about the fact they don't feel they've done enough. They want to get more women engineers involved. So I feel like his actions show he actually is very attuned to this. Yeah. And he made a huge mistake on the stage and knew it, corrected it, put a memo out, and we're done now.
By the way, he's Indian. I mean,
I don't want to bring
his presence alone as CEO of Microsoft is notable.
Well, that's true. There's diversity there, right? And the chairman of the board's African American. So they're and it's 29% of Microsoft employees to date are female.
Which, by the way, actually isn't that horrible. I mean, I think the number is worse for just engineers.
Oh, sure, it's way worse.
17%.
Yeah. I mean, I think without knowing from the outside, you would assume that men outnumber women greatly in these types of jobs.
Enough said. I didn't mean to change your order of stories.
And it's because women are so bad at math.
That's it. That explains it.
And I'm here all week, people.
Actually, the only reason I brought it up is because I want to name this show Gotcha Nadella. And now I've done it, so I'm going to... Okay, the show's name is...
What have you done?
I'm going to name the show Gotcha Nadella.
Gotcha Nadella.
That was somebody in the chat room. Thank you.
My problem is that Mary Jo knows my wife, so she knows I'm married to an extremely intelligent and independent woman who, let's face it, doesn't need me in the slightest. And this is kind of a constant source of humor because my wife is incredible, and I understand that, women are incredible. I mean,
oh, Jesus.
I find this to be...
Oh, careful.
I worship women.
I love the girls. I've got binders full of women.
I've got rooms full of them. No, no, I mean,
it's a no-win topic. It's a no-win topic. I'm just going to say.
It is.
Mary Jo knows where I'm coming from. She knows this is a
Look at my
good
CEO is a woman who also happens to be my partner, my fiance, soon to be my wife, and is about the strongest woman ever.
That you should fear, Leo.
She cracks the whip.
Yes.
And there's no doubt. And if I wanted a raise, guess who I go to? Her.
Yeah. Yep. You have to be the one asking.
She already told me, work on your karma, kid, because you're not getting.
So you're working at karma. As it turns out.
As it turns out, men in this place need to work the karma. All right, enough. Windows 10, enough. But I think that the really important question is, does this reflect an institutional bias or a bias on the part of Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft? Mary Jo Foley, who knows, and I think you made an excellent point, and we'll just leave it there. It does not. And, Paul, you're absolutely right. Even if it did, it won't from now on. So, in a way, this is a good thing. This surfaced a very important question, and now we know. Girls, ask for a raise.
Yes. Right. By the way, not a horrible time to go to work for Microsoft. It's like remember when Jack in the Box had that scare where people were I don't know if they were dying or getting sick after they were eating hamburgers at this restaurant 20 years ago. When something like that happens, that's the safest place in the world to eat.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's actually true. Right.
I agree. I mean, in some ways, these conversations, because otherwise what happens is it's an undercurrent, and it's good.
Leo, let's talk about politics and religion next.
No, please.
Yeah.
Here's what I think.
You did see the story yesterday about the Wells Fargo employee who sent an email to the CEO. Much lower, saying, "Here's my case for getting a $10,000 a year raise," and then he sent it to everybody at the company, all 200,000 employees.
Whoops!
I'm thinking that person is not employed at Wells Fargo today, but
probably not. Yeah, probably not.
That's
not went with the karma. Well, karma did work in that case.
That's an example. Probably you should have asked for a raise from your immediate superior alone, and no one else. All right.
People can't handle reply versus reply to all in an email thread. I mean, this is the same thing.
You got a little blame because there probably are some, magic email addresses, as most companies have magic email addresses that go to everybody. So a little blame there. Yeah. Should boys ask for raises? Our topic next.
Should boys? No, Leo. Boys already make too much.
Windows 10. That's a much more interesting topic for our audience. I'm sure of it. You said 1 million people have downloaded that preview, the technical preview? Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to let Mary Jo speak. I think she's still a little shell-shocked from the first topic.
No, I'm good.
1 million people.
Yeah. 1 million people in 10 days. Not bad. Not a bad little, especially when they were warning people off of it and saying, you know what, unless you really know what you're doing, this is not a consumer preview. It's not a developer preview. It's an enterprise preview. And they still got 1 million people downloading it.
People are really interested in this stuff, I think.
They are.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
they also said, they said 200,000 pieces of user feedback so far.
Yikes.
Yep.
And not all of it was ridiculous, like replace the NT kernel with the herd kernel. Or
some of you are slackers. If they have 1 million users and like 200,000 pieces of feedback, they need to hurry up. What about the other 800,000?
Well, I mean, but a lot of it is obviously most people aren't going to provide any feedback. I think everyone knows that. But I think a lot of the feedback is also the kind of like liking something on Facebook, where people are looking at the feedback others have provided and perhaps providing additional information if it's a feature request or something, or just at least liking it, plus wanting it, or whatever the system is, so that they can get a sense of what most people want to see happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that people who had heard about the keystroke logger apparently were not scared off.
Exactly. That story died down after a bit, luckily.
It just shows you, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily combine it with some conclusion about how people are just dying to get out of Windows 8. I don't think it's that either. I think people love rumors about the next thing. Every tech blog knows you want to get hits. You talk about something coming up. People want to be in the know. They love that.
You want to say you've tried it, right? People are like, "What do you think of Windows 10?" Yeah, I tried it. I liked it, or I hated it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So are they gonna? How is that gonna work? Are they gonna update it to the point where it's a consumer preview, or what is the roadmap on this? How does this
It's
work?
a little vague.
We have theories. I mean, I think the way it's engineered is that should work, right? But it's a technical preview. I mean, this is one of those things. If you have to ask, then you probably aren't qualified to be using this. If you can't handle wiping this thing out and starting over again at the consumer preview at the final release, you shouldn't be doing it.
And it's fair to say you should assume,
really is that simple.
You should assume that will require it, right? That it always has in the past.
I would
wonder,
operate,
though.
You don't think so?
I wonder, just because they're doing it differently this time, and they're going to be giving updates throughout the preview, and even after the preview ends and it's final, they're going to keep doing updates. So I wonder if there's going to be a way where they say, you know what, you just keep using what you've got, and we're just going to keep refining it.
Wow. I
don't know.
There's a good chance that will work fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't count on it.
Don't count on it.
Even on past betas, Microsoft would say we're not going to support upgrading to the final, but it always kind of worked, and people did it. And
so what is what's different about how they're doing it this time that would change things?
So we haven't seen that part yet, right? If you install this build, the first thing you'll notice, if you've been installing Windows a lot, like I think I've installed Windows 8 approximately 1,117 times or something. The installer is literally the Windows 8.1 installer. There's nothing new. Yeah. And so the way that it blasts the OS onto the disk has not changed, at least in this first preview. But there's this new updating mechanism that we haven't seen yet because they haven't provided anything through it. So I think everyone's kind of eager to see what that looks like. And there's this notion, and Mary Jo's been talking about this, and we have here on the podcast that Microsoft is walking away from those big bang updates and will be slowly substreaming updates into the OS over time. And that's something they will be doing during this pre-release program. And so we just haven't seen what it looks like yet.
Yeah, there's actually a page inside the build that says preview builds. How fast do you want to get the preview builds? And I don't think that's active yet, but you can set it to fast, moderate, or slow. You can change the branch where you're getting the preview bits from.
Yeah.
Really?
So there are all these new settings that we've never had before. Before it's like, hey, here's your developer preview. Here's your consumer preview. There's nothing in between those two things. And then here's your RTM. You're done.
Yeah, and those options mirror what Microsoft is doing with Office 365 and its business customers, right? Because you get into a weird situation. I don't think this is really a consumer feature per se, but in businesses, you can't just say, look, this is how it's going to be. We're going to be blasting updates on everyone's computers. But on the other hand, you also can't go to the other end of the spectrum, which is letting them do everything they've always been doing all along, which is never provide any updates. And so they have these different stages in between those two things. So when you sign up for Office 365 today, I don't remember the name of it, but there's sort of a rapid release program where if you want to, you can get those updates more quickly. But if you don't, you can put them off for some amount of time, not forever, but for some amount of time. And I expect Windows to offer.
There's also the first release in Office 365, right? So you can be in the earlier testing group, so you can get stuff even earlier than everybody else. So
and I think the assumption on that side is because it's businesses is that most of them will not want that. They will want the basic, the ability to put it off and so forth. And so you have to explicitly go in and make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And there'll be a way, if you really don't want the updates to be pushed to you quickly at all, you'll be able to say, I only want the security updates. I don't want any new features right now. And so they're really very focused on letting the IT departments throttle this if they want to, which is good. Because if they didn't do this, nobody would want to test this or use it because a lot of companies just can't have that pushed to them all the time.
this is one of probably many more than I can think of off the top of my head, but related issues that impact Windows, business customers when they look at Windows. So it's not, it's not just let's make Windows 8 prettier and better and, yada, yada, yada. But, business users aren't necessarily adopting touch type interfaces. And so obviously they're doing that kind of stuff. Business users businesses, I should say, don't necessarily want their users connecting a Microsoft account to their business account so they can download junk from the store. And so they changed the app model and they changed the sign-in model so that those corporate sign-ins from an Active Directory domain can both serve as a connected account that can go to a store, and you as a business can regulate the types of apps that appear on that machine. And all of these things and many more, I just can't think of more off the top of my head, but there's a lot of this stuff in Windows 10 where they're sort of stepping back from the cliff that was Windows 8, where it was very unilateral, right? You had to take it, this is the way we're doing it. And there's a lot of that stuff we're starting to see in the technical preview in particular, where they're providing options, for businesses. And I think that will help. It's not just like, oh, look, it works with keyboard and mouse. That's very obvious, but there's this other stuff too that I think is even more important.
By the way, Paul's shoulders are set a little bit broader today because Joe Belfiore actually referred to him in his blog post announcing the million downloads. You must be...
I'm not sure why that's a distinction of any kind. Okay. That's nice.
Paul, that's a pretty big link. See this article from Paul Thurrott in his blog
post.
But
I know, Joe. To me, someone on Twitter was like, oh, a corporate vice president mentioned you in a... I'm like, you mean Joe?
I mean, my buddy Joe? So when I mock his haircut, you're just like calling him up?
No, I mock his haircut too.
Okay.
He knows it.
Other tidbits. Most of these people are not running in VM, which kind of surprised me. That seems like the safest way to do it.
Actually, you should click on that link that he linked to, because that link, there's a guy
everybody should
very helpful to me, who provided a script-based list of what are in fact the most popular requests that have gone through the feedback system in the Windows 10 technical preview. Some of it is really just silly stuff. Could you make the start menu more pretty? Or whatever. But some of it's interesting.
Let us move or disable the new search and/or task view button.
Yeah, and by the way, that was one of the things I wrote about, which is they have these two new buttons on the taskbar, fine, but you can't remove them or move them or resize them. They take up a lot of real estate.
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Yeah. So and by the way, first release, I'm sure that's something they'll do.
The second one is what? Add a little animation.
I know. It's I actually wrote it. So I was going to say, as I wrote there though, you kind of want to make fun of that, but then again, if this is the type of thing that people are worried about right now,
right, you're doing good.
That kind of shows you that things aren't so horrible there.
453 people said there should be a little animation or transition when opening the start menu. What, it just pops on the screen?
Does it? Yeah, I guess so. It's so fast, Leo.
It's fast.
Could there be
some
puff of smoke?
You don't want it.
Fireworks.
I always turn off those things.
You don't want time for that.
Because they slow you down.
I don't see any of that.
300. Those were the top two with more than 400 likes. 300 or more likes make it easier to use a local account. That's so you don't have to use your Microsoft account.
Except that okay. So obviously. Most people say, well, I don't need to use my Microsoft account. I'm not going to use apps anyway. Who cares?
That's a memory.
I think that's a little
memory
short-sighted.
From the early days of Windows is what that is.
Well, but you know what? I think what people are misunderstanding is that the ability to use what Microsoft is now calling a connected account, because the Microsoft account is not, in fact, going to be the only account that works this way in Windows 10, is basically Microsoft bringing the capabilities of a domain account, a work business-oriented account, down to consumers. It is the ability to, there's all this stuff built into it that's wonderful. OneDrive syncing with the file system and automatically. The ability to see your files even when they aren't synced and to open them even when they aren't synced. When they are synced, the ability to use those things offline. All of the excellent settings sync capabilities. But the app model itself, more and more people are going to be running those apps. And the way that apps work out in the world today is if you buy Adobe Photoshop, I just ran into this, Adobe Photoshop Elements, the latest version, install it on one PC, type in your little code, good to go. I guess I installed it on the second PC and it said, nope, you've already installed it on too many PCs. The Windows Store app model, the universal app model, allows you to install this thing on up to, I think it's 81 PCs or some crazy number now. It's basically unlimited PCs. But the app purchase is tied to your account. It's automatic. You're not typing in codes. It's one of 1,000 things that makes this such an excellent experience. It's secure, especially if you use two-step authentication. It just provides all this stuff. It's not about getting information from you or invading your privacy or all these silly things that people sort of invent. It's about bringing those domain capabilities, central management capabilities, down to regular users in a way that makes sense. I'm really surprised by the blowback on the Microsoft account thing. I don't get it.
Well, what if you're not online? What if you're in a nuclear submarine?
Then please use a local account. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's still there. If you want to use it, it's still there.
Yeah. So they're not saying bring it back.
By the way, if you want to use that, just use Windows 7. I mean, I don't get it.
But I don't think that is the answer Microsoft would like to give. Come
no,
on,
their
Paul.
answer is use a Microsoft account and stop whining about nothing.
But if you're not online, you can't.
Who is the person that's not online but knows about Windows 10 and has to get it for their computer? Right. I don't understand what you're talking about. What do you mean? Yes, if you are living by the Amazon River and cannot get online,
there are literally people who maybe they installed it at work or but then they go up to the cabin and now they're offline, but they would like to still use it.
It doesn't require you to be online. It works fine offline.
Oh, you can use it offline.
Of course.
Oh. Okay, never mind.
I mean, you have to be online the first time you sign in.
Just the first time.
Yeah.
Just to make sure your password's correct.
And then does it never time out? Like if I just never got back online, it would still work?
It will be fine.
I'll tell you why I want it,
actually. It cannot require you to get online.
The reason I want it is because my Outlook password is really long and complicated. And I don't want to have to enter that each time. But, of course, they give you the PIN.
You want to sign in through the machine and have it work that way.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
But the PIN, you still have the PIN option, right?
Yep.
So what I do is I use my Microsoft account, which is, 28 or 30
or some crazy thing. And you put a PIN on it.
And I put a PIN, and I use the PIN to log in.
It's the same combination I use in my luggage.
Right. My ex-wife's birthday. Is it same for you? Okay. Add tabs to File Explorer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, whatever.
I can't access the charms, say 296 people.
Goodness.
Yay! Right. It said 29,000 people said, hooray!
No,
that's just a misunderstanding. They're actually there.
They are.
They're not always available
But
via
you have
mouse.
to do WinKey-C.
It's a technical preview. They've already said we're going to make this work. Nothing.
Okay, we're going to stop with this one. 293 votes for make a beautiful boot screen.
I know. I know. It's the one thing I've always felt ruins Windows.
Ruins it.
It boots so quick.
I
wouldn't even call it booting. It basically snaps awake. It's like a blink.
What?
Yeah, it's actually a little shocking. I don't get people,
Make a
Leo.
beautiful boot screen.
I know. I'm sure did I mock that one? I must have made that.
Yeah, if you didn't, I did. So updates every month if you opt in, if you flip that switch. It's by default, it's switched on though, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right now you can't even access those
that's the grayed out
more
part.
granular
Okay,
things.
okay.
That's going to be later.
There's a bunch of little things that are weird in Windows 10 now just because it's a technical preview. For example, in Windows 8.1, you get this crazy widescreen Bing search experience when you search for anything. So your files are in there, but there's all this Bing stuff in there. You can turn it off. It's one of the things I actually do turn off in Windows 8. In Windows 10, if you search through the search button on the taskbar, when that search thing comes up, there's a trending now column that has photos from the web, and it's stuff like Keisha files lawsuit, think before tweeting, NASA's Jackal. Like what? Like what? And in this build, you can't turn that off. It's in the release notes. I mean, this is something you will be able to turn off. But for now, you're stuck with these Bing trending, whatever these things are. It's awful. So it's a technical preview. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So after we start getting these updates, however often they come, monthly or whatever, then around January 2015 sometime, we think we're going to get the consumer preview. So what I'm hearing we're going to get then, it's a lot of stuff. You're going to get the consumer preview of this same desktop, Windows 10 desktop that we have now. But you're also going to get the consumer preview for the combined phone and tablet SKU that I hear inside Microsoft they call Windows Mobile, just to keep things really confusing. Because that was the name of the phone operating system before they did Windows Phone.
6.5.
Yeah. But that's the name they use inside. Like when they talk about it, they talk about Threshold Desktop, then they talk about Threshold Mobile. And we're also going to get a consumer preview of Windows Server at the same time, too. All of this supposedly January timeframe. And then they'll keep updating those bits once they push that more major update. And they'll just be updating until they do. I don't even know if you'll call it RTM at that point, but it'll be like the equivalent of an RTM. Sometime in the spring, summer, early summer. And then we're done. On to the next thing. Which probably won't be Windows 11. It'll probably just stay Windows 10, but with constant updating.
Just with all those new cat names.
Yeah, no cat names.
No cat names. Speaking of cat names, the RTM and Goldmaster, apparently what the meaning of that has been devalued because Apple is now on its third Goldmaster for Yosemite. They should have had a lead master, a bronze master.
Yeah, their experiences with that and with iOS 8 and that big problem they had with 801. Terrible. I think you're going to see the next versions of their OSs. They're going to do what Microsoft's doing right now. I think they're going to be much more public about it. And because
they currently are. Yosemite, their next is
I know,
public, and I'm using the public beta. You didn't have to sign up for anything.
It's like the 6th release or something, isn't there? Some crazy thing.
Oh God, yeah.
So, but I think this shows them, because if they hadn't done this, these are the problems that would have happened after they released it, which is what happened with iOS. So I think this will have a positive impact, much like the Satya Nadella thing that I'm never going to stop talking about.
That's later in the rundown. All right. Yeah. Right after Docker, Paul, okay?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, come on, let's get our priorities straight. Yep.
I'm interested because Google has now announced their next Nexus phone. It's a Nexus 6. It's 6 inches. It's the same size as the 1520.
Right.
And
by the way, you're one of 3 people on Earth who even know that fact. So thank you for saying.
Well, I just, it's I've been practicing with my dead 1520 just to get used to putting it in my pocket and holding it in my hands. It's kind of
that's so sad.
It's like a stretching exercise.
It's like a pet dies and you turn him into like a little pillow. And you put him on the couch.
Put him in my pocket.
Just keep him around.
It's good. It's good. I go.
Sometimes I just have to hug it and cry.
But I remember how much I loved that 6-inch screen. I think with Apple going 5.5 and Google going
the interesting thing about the 6-inch screen, I think, on the Nexus is they're keeping the 5 around, and the 5 has
because it is awfully big
screen, or 4.7, whatever it is.
Yeah.
On the tablet side, they have a new 9-inch device, and that's replacing the 7 and the 10. And so there is some debate, I think, on the phone side about the right size of the screen and so forth. And some people just naturally fall in love with the really big screens, but I think a lot of people don't. So I think there's some.
You need both.
Yeah.
And 4.7, I don't know why, that's just the perfect size. It fits in the hand nicely.
Yep.
Having said that, I like big screens. I cannot lie, and I think it's because those other brothers can't deny that a big screen is a tablet almost, and if you could, it should be as big as you can reasonably put it in your pocket.
Well, that was one of the things I tried with the iPhone 6 Plus when I was traveling with that. Can this replace a tablet? Yeah, and it kind of can. It kind of can.
Well, we'll talk about the new Lumias. You've had some hands-on with them, Paul, and we're talking about the next version of Microsoft's flagship. It's kind of funny saying that for the Lumias, the Microsoft flagship phone.
It's a flagship with air quotes around it, but yes.
You saw the Finnish prime minister who said Microsoft has killed our economy. I hate them.
Yeah, I saw an awesome response to this, and the reason it's awesome is because it's what I would have said if I just thought of it first, which is Microsoft didn't kill Nokia. Nokia killed Nokia.
Oh, yeah.
And it happened before Stephen Elop. Sorry.
Yeah, kind of the truth. The truth hurts. Our show today brought to you by our good buddies at Shutterstock.com. Paul Thurrott knows this. When you make when you put up a blog post, you got to have an image. Paul spends a lot of time in Photoshop making funny images. That's because he really doesn't have much of a life outside of his blog.
That's true.
For those of you who would love some beautiful images for your blog, whether you like to Photoshop them or not, there's a place to go with over 40 million stock photos, vectors, videos, now music tracks too. I'm talking about Shutterstock. These are all royalty-free. Once you buy an image, it's yours. You can use it in any form. You have beautiful apps for the Android and iOS. The Shutterstock app is just kind of fun to browse because it's so pretty. 43,293,774 royalty-free stock images. They add more than 250,000 every week. Now, you might say, well, what good is that? I mean, that's crazy until you realize they have this fabulous search tool that lets you really find exactly what you need in seconds. Let's say I need a picture of an ocelot. I don't know why I'm in the mood for ocelots. There they are. There's ocelots. But that's not enough. You can refine your search even farther. You could say, only photos, only vectors, only illustrations. I want horizontal or vertical orientation. You could choose the category. You could say, all ocelots except those eating people. You want to eliminate those? You can suggest a photographer because, of course, many of the best artists in the world are Shutterstock contributors. You could say images with people, images without people. You can even choose gender, race, or ethnicity, I guess they call it, age, number of people. And they have a color wheel. So if you say, you know, I'm looking today for something that's going to go with yellow or black or blue, you can actually choose by color. I'm telling you, this search engine is amazing. You can even add, if you wish, you can add, let me go back up here, an emotion. Let's say an angry ocelot. I'm probably not going to be able to find a happy ocelot. So let's just get, oh, that's a happy ocelot. Oh, I don't know if that's angry. Here's an angry. Ooh, that's angry. Get out of the way. Here comes angry ocelot. Shutterstock.com. You could try it today. If you want to play with it as I have, sign up for the free account. You don't need to give them a credit card. Just start the account and begin using Shutterstock to pick images, store them in a Lightbox. You'll get free images every week, free video clips as well. The videos are fantastic. I just really like them. If you see something you want to buy, well, use the offer code Windows 1014, and you can receive 20% off any image subscription package. We have the 25 a day, which, you know, many blogs and big publications have 25 a day. If it's just you, maybe you'll want a smaller package, but you get 20% off. But don't forget, you got to use the offer code Windows 1014. It's October 2014. That's why we use that. Windows 1014 at Shutterstock.com. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. It's Paul. Look, it's Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Look, hosts of Windows Weekly. They're here.
Look at us.
It got real quiet in your apartment, Mary Jo.
I know, for a second.
I picture like these workmen on the side of the thing, you know.
I know. I bet they can hear. As soon as she starts talking, bang.
Oh, that's mean.
It's go time, boys.
That's mean. All right, let's talk Lumias. I'm kind of surprised. Microsoft hasn't really jumped on the PureView bandwagon, the 1020, the 41 megapixel.
Right.
They seem to be pushing more toward mid and low end phones. Is that right? Am I correct?
Well, that's where they're seeing success, right? In the low end of the market. You know, last year, the best-selling Windows device in the world was a Lumia 520, which is a $99 device to start. It really was
a great device. I mean,
$39 device, you know.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, that really was a great product.
So I guess the trick for this year is how do you take that success at the low end and continue it, but also try to push those consumers up a little bit at least. I mean, I don't think it's reasonable to think that most people are going to be buying very high-end Windows phones. It's just like they do with iPhones. It's just not going to happen.
So they've got the, and you got looks at the two new ones, the 830 and the 735. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, so these are both what I would call mid-level devices. They're not really low-end devices. They're not flagships, but they're kind of in the middle. Microsoft divides the market a little bit differently. They, in fact, think of low-end and high-end. And so low-end for them is anything that costs under $200 to acquire. And
unsubsidized.
Unsubsidized,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So these phones, you know, I mean, they're right in the middle is what they are. You know, the low end phones, you know, 530 now, and the 630, 635 in the Lumias. And then the high ends, you know, we haven't seen a new one since April, but the 930 falls into this category, and the Icon, of course, the 1520, and even in the 1020, if only by virtue of its incredible.
I think the 1520 is a real winner. I still love that.
When you look at the specs of that device too, it really stands up well today.
Yeah, it's still a flagship.
Yes, and I think a lot of people, Mary Jo probably would agree with this, had kind of wished that the Icon 930 was basically a 5-inch version of the 1520 in the sense that it had that thin form factor, and you know, that would have been nice. So I can only guess why they didn't do that. I think part of it is the battery wouldn't have worked, and so the Icon and the 930 are thick devices, and so the 830 is down level from those devices. It's got a real mid-level processor. This is not a high-end. It's still quad core, but I think it's I'll do this off the top of my head, but I want to say it's a Snapdragon 400, kind of middle of the road. Gig of RAM, 16 gigs of onboard storage. But what it is from a style perspective is it's the Icon. It's the 930, but like really thin.
It's got that square metal frame.
Yeah, so it's got that same design philosophy or whatever. But the neat thing about it is that back panel comes off.
Oh, that's
so you can replace the back with a different color, green, white, black, whatever. You can also replace it with a flip case, which is awesome. It comes with built-in wireless charging, so there's no worries there. But it also means you can get at the battery.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that alone makes it nice. But it also has what sort of looks like it might be a high-end PureView camera, and sure enough, they talk this thing up. And unlike those other phones, the high-end phones, this camera doesn't take 2 shots every time, one for sharing, one for saving. It just takes the 1 shot. It's still pretty slow to take photos, as these cameras often are. And it really isn't of the same quality as you would see on a 1520, an Icon, a 930, or a 1020. But it's very good. I mean, I have to say, it's kind of mixed. It's kind of touch and go. I've been comparing it with the iPhone 6 Plus, and depends on the situation which one is better. I would say overall, so far, actually, the iPhone has probably pulled ahead, but they're pretty close. And the fact that the iPhone is a very high-end camera and this is not, I think, you know, kind of speaks to the quality of what they're trying to do here. It does have optical image stabilization. It's nice, but again, you know, the ability to pop that back off is the big thing. The thing I sort of take exception to with these phones, though, is they have this other phone, like the 730 and the 735. If you look at this thing, it's got that kind of classic Lumia polycarbonate styling. It looks like a 900, a 920, whatever. But it's not. It's like it's so light. It's so incredibly light, and that whole color part, it just pops off. And again, so you can get at the stuff in the back. You can change the case. You can do whatever. But this phone has 2 things that the 830 lacks, even though this one is probably less expensive. We don't have them yet here and know what the prices are. But the screen is actually a little nicer on this device, even though it's a little smaller, brighter.
The 735.
Yeah. And it has this awesome front-facing camera for selfies and for Skype, whereas the 830 just has your typical, you know, front camera. And so what it is kind of a wide-screen camera. You catch more of the scene around you.
Yeah, HTC or somebody's doing that. Yeah.
HTC just launched a phone, actually, yes, very, very similar to this. In fact, I think the specs on that camera are actually better than this one. But, you know, very inexpensive. I think the thing that's shocking about this is if you've used the 920 in particular, or a 900 or an 800 or whatever, you look at this and you think, I know this design. I've seen these. I've owned this phone. And then you pick it up and it almost shoots up to the ceiling. It's so light. It's crazy how light this is.
You say it's
filled
with helium.
Cheap?
No.
Does it feel cheap or not?
No, it doesn't. It feels, it's awesome. It lacks a dedicated camera button, which is a problem with their low-end phones. Like the 830 does have that button. But no, I think it's great. I love this phone. I mean, this is a problem because I really like both of these, and I would say actually of all of their new model phones, most of them are quite good from a quality perspective. The only exception is the 530, which is the really low end one. It's kind of terrible.
And they're still selling the 1520, right?
Yep.
In fact, somebody said there's a 1525 coming to T-Mobile. There's a variant.
I hope so. I've heard nothing about it, but
Neither. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing.
I'd like to see.
People keep asking us that, right? Where is the next flagship going to come on
Every day.
T-Mobile, on AT&T, on Verizon? And we aren't hearing about any coming, right? I mean, there's talk that the 930 is coming to AT&T pretty soon. That would be a true flagship on AT&T.
Which one? The
930.
Oh, I would love for that to happen. I would buy that phone immediately.
That's a pretty active rumor.
Oh, good. I hope that's true. I'd rather have. I mean, well, it's hard to say. I mean, this has that kind of perfect size screen, and it's not. It's how is this thing mid-level? The processor, the RAM, the storage, but the camera, right? The screen. It's not 1080p. It's 720p, right? And it looks great. That's not. It's not a big deal. Although, again, when you compare it to the 735, especially at any kind of an angle, the screen is not as bright and beautiful as the lower end one, and I find that aspect of these phones to be a little strange.
Are they still using OLED screens, or are they all OLEDs? Or
Yeah, I can't remember which one is which, but I want to say one's IPS, one's OLED. I can't remember which one's which.
All right. Well, there you go.
They're clearly a little different.
That's the lineup.
Yeah.
For the rest of this year.
Yeah, let's talk about Verizon though.
Yes.
You're a Verizon customer. You use an icon,
they do.
right? Yeah.
I use an icon. And late last week, WP Central, I think it was the one who found out from a support rep, which, again, we can't say this is 100% true, but the support rep told them, or somebody who was talking to them, the icon is being retired. The icon is the Lumia 929, the only Windows Phone flagship on Verizon right now. And I spent all day Friday trying to find out if this was true, because the icon's not even listed anymore on the Verizon Wireless page at all. I tried to get Microsoft to comment. They were trying to get Verizon to comment. And all we could get was they still have them in stock and they're selling them. And that's all they're going to say about it.
Right.
So that's a little disappointing for us on Verizon because...
Well, more than a little, right? Because the icon
I'm saying that sarcastically.
Let me think about this first before I say it. But I think the icon is the only Nokia flagship that's launched in the United States this entire year, I think.
Yeah. Unless you count that HTC M8.
Oh, Nokia. I meant Nokia. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Nokia. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the HTC you're referring to is a really nice phone. The camera's not very good. And I don't find those two devices to be directly comparable. I would choose the icon every time. It would be a very easy decision.
I find it a much harder choice between those two devices, except for the camera. Yeah. The camera just throws it completely into the icon's favor. But I like the look and feel and the way the battery life. I like everything else about the HTC M8 more than I like the icon, except for the camera. That's the one thing.
Yeah. No, it's thinner, it's lighter, it's smoother, and it feels better in your hand. It's got that awesome kind of case that you can get, and there's a lot to love about it. And then you take a photo with it, and you're like, geez, really?
I know. So the Verizon thing is just maddening. We don't even have Windows Phone 8.1 yet on the icon.
What?
Right.
Which is, I mean, they finished that operating system in March or April of this year. Verizon still hasn't pushed it. We don't have Cyan. No word on when it's coming. No word on Denim. Those two firmware updates for 8.1. We can't get any information. It's totally in Verizon's hands. Microsoft says they don't even know when they're going to push it to us. And now with them retiring it, everybody's wondering, like, okay, so then what happens to firmware updates and software updates after that, right?
Verizon is
it's a fair question to ask.
So frustrating, and yet they have they really have a great network.
They do.
Sure. And so it's hard to give them up.
They've always treated Windows Phone like a second-class citizen.
No.
Really
don't get it. They've treated everybody like a second-class citizen.
Okay.
Verizon is maddening for everybody across.
They
the
are.
Okay.
Well, but they have such a good service.
But
their
connectivity is great.
I know.
I love T-Mobile, but it's hit and miss. And
it is. And here in New York, AT&T can still be hit or miss compared to Verizon.
Right.
So yeah, I'm still on Verizon, but I got to tell you, after this, I'm wavering now. And I was even saying this to Paul. I'm like, okay, here are my choices. I'm either going to go Android next on Verizon, or I'm going to dump Verizon and with AT&T. And I don't like either choice. I really don't. But I'm kind of stuck now. And you guys should see my inbox with people like screaming about this. They just are like, does Microsoft know? Can you give me an email address to write to somebody at Microsoft about what the heck is going on?
Minutes before the show, I got this email.
I think they know.
I would, I would choose AT&T over switching to Android personally. But of course, for you, I assume that your cell phone is your phone, right?
No, but Verizon screws Android users too. Don't worry. They're not getting updates either.
It's just so maddening.
Yeah, but you'd want to make sure that AT&T worked in your home.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, AT&T, you go to an AT&T store, they'll let you take it home for 2 weeks without a restocking fee. They'll let you, I mean, you say it doesn't work at my house. Yeah. What are they going to say? Oh, no, you still have to use it?
I know.
No.
Well, but then you go to AT&T, and guess what? AT&T hasn't had a flagship release since November of last year.
Right.
And so AT&T certainly has more choice and some newer choices, but not any reasonable high-end flagship type.
These guys they still act like monopolies, frankly.
Yeah.
They just really don't care.
And it's hard because, Nokia was gone from the U.S. market for so long. So they're having to rebuild their relationship here with the carriers. And it's just been such a frustrating, slow process. It's crazy. You still walk into a Verizon store and they won't sell you the product. You go in and say, I want a Windows Phone. And they're like, no, you don't. Okay. Why is that still happening, right?
I think, by the way, so AT&T has been great with that regard. I think I made the anecdotal observation weeks ago now that I walked into T-Mobile and literally witnessed them selling a Windows Phone to a guy, which I mean, almost threw me out of my shoes. But AT&T and Dedham, at least, has been fantastic across the board. I mean, the service there is great. They're really knowledgeable. There's none of that baloney. Oh, you don't want Windows Phone, or why are you using this? Or they're interested when you bring out the Windows Phone. I've not had that experience, and so again, I think it varies from store to store.
It's frustrating. I put in my post, it's just so hard to be a Verizon customer if you're a Windows Phone user. It's just really, I don't know. I don't know what anybody
across the board. I mean, who's better? I mean, as you say, AT&T doesn't have a flagship.
Well, AT&T has always been better. This year has been odd, and by the way, I can't blame AT&T per se because Nokia, Microsoft has not released a flagship phone.
You know what? They're all in love with the iPhone. They just can't stop staring at the iPhone. iPhone.
No, I mean, I think AT&T would have gotten the 930, but it was a Verizon exclusive as the icon.
It was.
And they probably had some time element tied to it. And it's possible that Verizon expiring the icon is the 6-month anniversary, and that indicates that maybe the 930 is happening, and that's a little middle finger to to Microsoft or whatever. I don't know.
That's a theory a lot of people have, that the reason they're retiring it is because now it's going to come out on one or both other carriers. But why doesn't somebody say that?
Well, I mean, so that's nice. But then so now the 930 is available on AT&T, and of course the complaint will immediately turn to, so could we get a flagship that's less than 6 months old? I mean, this thing's been out since April, I want to say, the 930, right? In Europe and
somebody
elsewhere.
in our chat room says, you think it's bad being a customer, you ought to try working for him.
Yeah, I could see that.
You have my deepest sympathies. What about the HTC One?
But is it an iPhone, Leo?
What about the HTC One?
Yeah, that's great on Verizon.
You should get that. That's a nice phone.
No, it's the camera. That's the one we were talking about earlier.
The camera, boo. The camera's so
You don't like
not
the camera?
good. No, grainy pictures, terrible in low light, really fuzzy.
It's supposed to be really good in low light. I wonder what's going on there.
We're spoiled. We get the 20 megapixel camera.
By the way, that's true. And I read a lot of these articles online where people will say, hands down, the iPhone 6 is the best camera on the market. And it's like, wait, what? Like what? Okay. I mean, obviously there are things about it that are awesome, and it does a lot really well. But I mean, from a pure quality standpoint, that's absolutely not the case. And it's the past 2 summers, I went to Europe for 3 weeks plus and used a Lumia both times to take all of my vacation photos. They're stunning. You saw a bunch of them on Facebook, both of you. I mean, you can attest to the fact that I don't think anyone looked at my vacation photos and thought, wow, you're really kind of using a low-end camera there, Paul. I mean, they came out nice. And I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that with, I'm not sure I would do it with an iPhone either. I mean, there are only a handful of cameras phones, I would use as cameras in that fashion.
Well, we disagree a little on that, but that's okay. That's the way it is.
Well, I mean, the iPhone 6 camera app is wonderful, and there's a bunch of stuff built into it. I think the failing on the Nokia side, aside from speed, is the requirement of having additional apps to do all that stuff. You want a panorama, there's a panorama app. You want to do selfies, there's a selfie app. You know?
I think the out-of-the-box experience for iPhone is still better than anything else out there.
Right, I'm just talking pure
take it
quality.
Out,
So
take a picture. People are going to be happiest with the iPhone.
Yes, but when you're looking at a picture on your phone screen, it's one thing, and you put it on your computer, it's nice, you know. But when you zoom into an iPhone 6 Plus photo, you see kind of a weird, almost watercolor pattern effect in the background of it, and when you compare that to like a Lumia, it's like, wow, you know, there's a serious quality difference there. Not that any one of these things couldn't take wonderful photos.
These are night pictures from Vegas. These are with the 1520 or
I don't remember what that.
These are remarkable pictures. They're very good. Very good.
Yeah, I think those are 1520 shots. Yeah. You know, and the Lumia went through a rough patch, by the way, over the past year for low light shots. So this was always supposed to be one of the things that it was really good at, and that was not my experience at all. When we were in DC over the summer, I was struggling with that and used a third-party app instead because it was so bad. In the Cyan and now the Denim updates, they have improved low light dramatically through firmware updates.
Yeah, these are great shots. I'm looking at your Barcelona pictures. These are great shots.
Yeah.
The color's rich, the detail's great.
I don't think anyone would ever, you don't get into that conversation where it's like, well, what did you take? What is this? This looks like
they're good.
They're just, they're fine.
But do you have super slow-mo?
Yeah, but it requires another app, and that's what I'm talking about. In other words, I think the things that the iPhone excels at are the fact that, well, speed, by the way. And I don't just mean an automated thing where it's taking a bunch of pictures. We actually do have that on Windows Phone. I mean, you manually on the shutter, click, 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 click. It will take photos that quick. As quick as you can press it, we'll take those photos. Yeah. That's really impressive. Yeah. And then the ability to have all that stuff in that one app and not have to go to different apps and think, okay, what app do I need for this one thing? You know.
These are great. Even when you zoom in, they really look good.
And those are the Facebook.
And this is Facebook, which is probably
those aren't as
degrading it.
Yeah.
Where do you put your pictures besides Facebook? Anywhere else?
Not for public consumption.
Right. Okay. You might put some samples up on Google Plus or somewhere where they don't recompress. So we
I tried to do this on Flickr, but when you look at them on Flickr, I'm pretty sure Flickr's doing something to them too. I got to figure out a way to do that because I don't have any like axe to grind here. I'm not trying to sell Nokia products. I mean, I will happily put up all the photos I've taken with the iPhone, with the 830, whatever. I mean, I'm not. This is just my own experience. I mean, the iPhone 6 camera is fantastic, but.
Well, you know what? I just got an update to my Android OnePlus 1, and they now shoot.
Hold up the 1520 there for a second.
It looks like it. Hey, they're all slabs of glass, you know. Sure. But this now does camera raw, like the Lumias, which is nice to get the raw sensor data. Now you really can. If there is a weird, people often complain about a purple cast on the iPhone. You can fix it if you see weird stuff. All right, we've been waiting. We put it off too long. Docker.
Finally.
Finally.
Like, when are we going to get to the Docker story?
Well, not quite yet, because we're going to take a break and come back. It's called a tease, Mary Jo. We saved the best for right after the ITProTV ad.
Okay. All right.
Docker coming up in a second on Windows Weekly. Our show today brought to you by Tim and Don. I feel that way sometimes with some of our advertisers, especially ITProTV. It's not some company; it's Tim and Don. Maybe it's because they keep coming here. They come out whenever they can. They were clearly influenced by Twit. In fact, they freely admit that. Tim and Don were IT instructors in the business, teaching people how to get their certs for MCSE and all of that. And they saw what we were doing at Twit. They actually saw a talk I gave at NAB, And they said, hey, what if we did the same kind of thing, only focused on IT training? I see they're on the air right now, so let's go. If you go to ITPro.tv/WW, you can find out more. They have a live stream. They do about 30 hours of new content every week. Actually, let me log in. That way I can show you what's going on. They have courseware in all of the subjects that you want. I'm logging in right now. That's what that sound is. And they have some advantages over, say, just taking a technical course. For one thing, it's at your convenience, right? You can watch on your computer, but also on your mobile device. If you buy the year subscription, which is really the best deal, you can even download this stuff and watch anytime you want. Oh, see, even their set looks like Tech TV's old set. I love it. ITProTV. They have the amazing, I really like this, web interface to their virtual machine sandbox lab. So I guess we're waiting for them to show up. So you can, in any computer with an HTML5 browser, including a Chromebook, you can set up a Windows server, set up clients, break it, all of that to practice. You can also take the Measure Up practice exams included. There they go. Included with your subscription. It's very much like Twit. I love it. They kind of wander in. I guess they've got something now, a noon show coming up. So you have, those are worth $79, those practice exams. Corporate accounts are available for departments and companies. They have, if they have corporate pricing on their website. Look, I just love it. ITProTV. In fact, if you go to the, let me close out this live feed and go to the courseware, you'll see they've got courses. See the chat room going on while they're doing the show and all of that? Very much like what we do. They've got Apple stuff now, CompTIA, of course, the A+ and Security Plus and Linux Plus certs. They've got all the Microsoft certs, MCSA, MCSE, MTA. I love this one. They have an ethical hacker cert from the EC Council, certified ethical hacker. You can actually, that's coming. They're going to do that early next year. Cisco, ISC Squared, Microsoft Office, all of the Microsoft Office courses they're doing, including OneNote, Lync, Outlook, PowerPoint, Access, project management from PMI. This is 30 hours of new content each and every week. But, of course, when you subscribe, you have access to the entire course library. Normally $57 a month, $570 a year. Still a great deal compared to taking a class or classes at a technical college, and in many cases, a lot less than just buying the books to study yourself, and more fun. You can even watch on your Roku. If you sign up now with the offer code DUBDUB30, WW30, you'll receive 30% off your subscription for the life of your account. It's less than $40 a month, $399 for the entire year. ITPro.tv/WW and use the offer code WW30 to get 30% off. We love them. You will too. ITProTV. It puts the fun back into learning IT. Mary Jo Foley, Paul Thurrott, Leo Laporte, talking Windows. And here we go. You've been waiting, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's Docker time. What is Docker?
Okay. Now, I can tell you, this may seem like a story that's really boring and not a big deal. But when I heard that Microsoft was doing this, it's huge. This is a huge deal. Okay. So Docker is, a lot of times you see people describe it as a shipping container, like a physical shipping container. And it is a container technology, a new container technology that lets people develop, distribute, and deploy applications more easily. It's open source. It's being made by a company called Docker Inc. That's the company behind this Docker, this new container that we're talking about. And it's really a popular technology in Linux. Well, this week, Microsoft did an alliance with Docker Inc., where they're going to create a version of their own container technology that's going to be part of the next version of Windows Server. And Docker and Microsoft together are going to put the Docker engine on top of that. So this is going to let people in the .NET and the Windows world start using Docker containers to build, deploy, and host their applications. And so you can either choose to put your Docker containers right on top of Windows Server on premises, or you're also going to be able to put them in Windows Server on Azure so that you can run them in the cloud. So I know it sounds kind of obscure, but this is like a really, really new hot trend in cloud computing, especially. Everybody's jumping on the Docker bandwagon lately. IBM's in there, Microsoft, Rackspace, Google, and all the Linux vendors like Canonical and Red Hat. Everybody's really all excited about Docker and containers. So it's been a big criticism of Microsoft that they haven't had a play here, and that they have seemed like they haven't been really keeping up with this particular trend. But now that they're here, everybody's saying, "Wow, here it comes!" And I've seen a number of people covering this today saying, "Yeah, it's so far away though," but it's not really far away, because we know Windows Server Next, which is where this is going to start showing up, is coming out by mid next year. So it's very close, relatively speaking, that Microsoft's actually going to be playing more actively in the space with Windows Server. So that's why I was really excited.
No, in fact, there are a lot of people who are excited about this too.
Yeah.
Linux Journal says that containers are the future of cloud, not virtual machines. Containers are the way we're going to move forward. And in fact, Ed in the chat room said it's about time we got Docker on Windows. He's very excited about it.
Yep.
So this feels like a Satya Nadella thing, kind of opening up a little bit to the idea that there's other choices, including open source choices out there.
Yep. And Scott Guthrie, too, who runs Cloud and Enterprise, he's been a big open source backer at Microsoft, and I'm sure he had a big hand in making sure this happened. If you had told people in the Microsoft world just even like a year or two ago, hey, you know what, Docker is going to come to Windows Server, people would have just laughed.
Right.
They would have been like, right, sure. Or even being able to run Docker on Linux in Azure, people would have been like, oh, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. But here it is, everybody. Docker.
Yay. It's more lightweight, starts up faster. It's just an easier way to do. Yep. It's still essentially virtualization, I think.
It's like an alternative to virtualization, kind of.
Right.
That's kind of the way that it's played.
Does it use hypervisor or not?
Well, it does not use hypervisor, but you're treading on an interesting question. So how do they do it, right? When you see pictures of what the architectural diagram looks like, you see server, host operating system, then the Docker engine. There's no hypervisor layer when they talk about that. And there has to still be this container technology, though. And so Microsoft says they're building some kind of a new container technology that's like the base layer under Docker into the next Windows Server.
Yeah,
but they won't tell
on
us what that
Linux,
is.
it would be running a daemon. There'd be a daemon.
Yeah, they're both daemons, I guess. Like there's going to be a Windows Server daemon and a Linux daemon. But there's like this layer underneath that we don't know what it is. In the Windows, in the what do you call it? In the Linux world, it's LCX is what the container technology is called, Linux Container Support. But Windows is what we don't know. There's going to be some kind of Windows Server container support, but Microsoft's not sharing yet what that actually is in terms of
Joe, is there a show coming up at which they might reveal this information?
Tech at Barcelona is just around the corner. Perhaps we'll hear more. Yeah. What do you think?
That's what I'm thinking.
It's kind of a weird. You're sharing the kernel in a weird way.
Yep.
So, but now when you spin up an instance on EC2 or an Azure, you got a boot up. I mean, you're running an operating system in a virtual machine. This is a little much more lightweight, and you're going to see.
This is the ActiveX control to the VM.
Don't say that.
Yikes. No.
Nothing goes wrong when you make something lightweight.
And also,
it's pretty big.
Yeah, this is really well. I think this. I gotta say, I feel like Scott Guthrie, but I think Nadella's deep understanding of cloud and of open and of business is helping a lot in making this kind of thing happen.
I think this is related to Microsoft's management strategy. That this becomes a unit of management and something they can manage with System Center and possibly into.
Great.
Yep.
Speaking of partnerships, Dreamforce is going on this weekend in San Francisco, the big Salesforce conference, and Microsoft.
Why are we not there for some stupid Microsoft show?
Again this week.
Again this week.
Well, next week you're going to be there again.
Are you coming back?
No, we're not coming back.
all right.
Next week is when Satya Nadella is going to be in San Francisco again doing some kind of an announcement about Azure. We don't really know exactly.
Leo,
what
I learned something by going to San Francisco that week. It's how to say no.
Yeah.
And I've said no
twice. You don't need to go to everything.
Yep. I don't have to go.
And they're going to webcast that thing next week, so we really don't need to go. But yeah, this week it was Salesforce, and so Microsoft and Salesforce announced their initial partnership back in May, and they said we're going to start collaborating more, and we're going to do a lot of integration, and it was kind of vague, kind of fluffy. But this week they actually gave us some more real data points about what they're doing. Like they're actually developing together a Salesforce One app for Windows. So there's going to be an app that works on Windows Phone 8.1 and Windows 8.1. Especially optimized for smaller tablets, like 8 inches and under. That's going to be the Salesforce CRM app for Windows. So that's kind of a big deal because, as we said recently on the show, there aren't enough Metro-style apps that are real apps and business apps. So here's an example of one that's coming. It's going to be out next year. They talked about integration they're doing with Office around Salesforce files and SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. They're even building a new version of Salesforce, the Salesforce app for Outlook, and doing some more things around Power BI and Salesforce integration. So they are really doing things. The partnership wasn't just all words. And all these things that they talked about this week are going to be deliverables in early to mid-2015 for the most part. So it actually is working. Salesforce and Microsoft, even though they do compete very strongly on the CRM front, are going to come up with some apps together that I think a lot of business customers are going to be pretty excited about.
Well, it really is a new Microsoft.
It really is,
right? I
can't
believe it.
I know. Mark Benioff working with Microsoft instead of criticizing them, right? Wow. Huh. How about that?
Next, Scott McNeely will say, "Hey, I've got an apartment in Redmond and I'm moving in." God, that's amazing. Wow.
I know. It's pretty different.
All right.
It's pretty different.
Let's see here. No, we're going to skip over this thing about Satya Nadella hating women and move right to...
we already did that one.
We did that one. We're going to move to...
Actually, I just want one more thing about politics and religion.
Could somebody block him, please?
Yeah, exactly.
I have these cartoons of the prophet here. I thought maybe...
I was joking with Mary Jo before this show that we should have had Alex make a lower third for her that said, like, conscientious... What is it? Conscientious objector.
CO, just say CO. Yeah.
Yes. I was going to make my own little flag and wave it during this segment, but I don't need to.
But Mary Jo, have you ever asked for a raise?
Yes, I have, in fact. I guess that's why I wasn't so appalled about this. Like, I've asked for raises. When people have asked me to speak for free, I just say, you know what? I am self-employed. I don't speak for free. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can find some money for me. Mm-hmm. And they do. Come on.
I do the same
thing. I've always relied on karma, and I've always been screwed.
See?
The karma guy. That's my job.
Karma doesn't work. That's been also one of my life lessons.
Paul's a
karma from Boston.
Karma does not work the way you think it works.
He's a karma cavilian.
Qik.
Qik Qik was an independent video technology. I used to use it on my smartphone. Skype bought them? Is that what happened? What's going on here?
Right.
A while ago, I think. Yeah.
Skype bought them before Microsoft bought Skype. Just a few months before that happened in 2011. They bought the video messaging company Qik. Then they never really did anything with it. Microsoft bought Skype. It kind of just hung around. And then this week they launched an app called Skype Qik. They claim it doesn't use any of the technology from the original
Good, because it was terrible.
That's good that they're not using it then. And what it lets you do is have these little short vignettes that you record, like 42 seconds or less, and you can send them back and forth between your Skype contacts using their phone number. And it's meant to be kind of a fun interim app, not quite a full Skype with somebody, but a little kind of...
I think this is great. Just video sharing.
Yeah, video sharing. Meant to be fun, not really meant to be a businessy thing, at least at this point.
No, they're showing just all kids, basically.
Yeah. You can record these little really short ones, like 5-second quick flicks, they call them. So if somebody sends you a message like, "What, you want to go to dinner tonight?" you can send a little downer face like, "No."
That's fun.
Yeah, it's cute.
This speaks to my core demographic right here.
It does. Both of our core demographics.
Mary Jo and I just quick each other all the time now. We just send goofy little like videos. I'm
when you have a
shopping
neck
for a shirt.
beard,
Which one do you
you're
like better?
not likely to use Quick.
No.
Well, and the messages also do self-destruct after 2 weeks.
Oh, it's another
very
one of
similar
them.
to other ones we.
So if it's embarrassing, it's only temporarily embarrassing.
Temporarily. Quick Messenger. Wait a minute.
You also,
this is Skype
if you
Qik.
send one, like if I sent a message to Paul and a group of other people and I was like, oh, I wish I didn't send that, I can go in and delete it off everybody's phones myself.
So if you
So
search,
you just mentioned that this Quick thing had been purchased. When you said that, I thought that sounds familiar.
yeah.
You remember
I
that,
am
right?
really fascinated to find out that this thing dates back to 2007.
Oh, it's ancient. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I used
you
to
know?
use it, and you know, there were a whole bunch of ways to do video. I streamed stuff with Quick too. You were able to stream it live.
Right.
There was Social Cam from Justin TV. There were a whole series of these. The idea being you could use your phone because we're interested in live video streaming, so I played with all of these. Quick was pretty good. I mean, it was okay. Look, Robert Scoble used it a lot. That should tell you something.
It tells me a lot.
Yes, it does.
Not things I want to know. No, I'm kidding. He
And
used
by
it in
the way,
shower.
hard to find. Somebody's saying I can't find it in the Windows Phone store. I have the same problem on Android because when Quick went out of business, a lot of people usurped the name.
Oh, no, Leo, you misunderstand. We have a slightly different problem on Windows Phone, which is when you search for exactly what something is, you can't find it. It's a hilarious little Windows Phone feature. I believe if you type in Skype Qik,
Yeah, Skype Qik.
Skype Qik,
Yeah,
right?
that'll work.
And it's
You
also
just type in
available
Qik,
for Android.
have a nice, have
and
a good.
Windows,
Yeah, I just installed it on Android.
iPhone also, surprisingly.
I wonder if it'll remember my old Quick account.
That'd be funny.
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't really want to see it again.
Because it's a very different app. They claim
Well,
it's all different code.
In that
Uses
era,
a Skype backbone now.
right? I mean, this was 3G, maybe 2G networks. The video quality you were streaming was terrible.
Yeah.
So, well, they've already got 100 downloads on Android.
Nice.
Is that all?
I've never seen that sticker.
All of the Microsoft employees testing it.
I've never seen that sticker. 100 downloads. I've seen 100 million. This is just 100.
The 100. Wow.
Just 100.
Well, it's early days, Leo.
It just came out.
They'll get there.
Not only is Quick brand new, it's the very first app from Skype.
Right. That's a good point of bringing
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
It's not. Skype has all been focused about Skype, and now this is their first kind of sister companion app.
I'm going to say, oh, look. It's rocking out.
When you search for Qik, it doesn't even come up in the results.
Yeah, don't search for Skype Qik. That's why they call it Skype Qik.
These people.
People. Come on, people.
Actually, Skype Qik this is amazing.
It's so 80s. How do I stop this? Oh, thank you. Oh.
Gotta cut loose.
It's making the
Foot
Skype
loose.
sound.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Paul's favorite sound. He loves that sound.
Skype sound. The never-ending Skype sound.
All right.
I know this is available for Windows Phone, but I can't find it on Windows Phone.
Oh, boy. Let's take a break. No, let's keep going. Oh. It just verified itself. So you pull down a request. It's very kind of cool. I'll play with it. Any Surface news, Paul?
Just a little. Patch Tuesday has historically been the firmware update day for Surface. And each month, many times it's been all of the Surface devices, sometimes only some of them. This week, Patch Tuesday came, and the only device that got firmware updates was Surface 2, which is the year-old RT device. And if you use a Surface Pro 3, you know that there was a pen firmware update a couple weeks ago, which enabled a pen configuration app, which is really just very basic right now, but I think is going to improve. But the interesting part about this set of updates, I think, is that Microsoft revealed on their update page for Surface Pro 3 that they were going to try to fix the Wi-Fi problem that has been dogging Surface Pro 3 users since there's been a Surface Pro 3. And I don't know, Mary Jo, if you pay attention to this or have thought about this, but I think this is like their fourth attempt
It is.
at fixing this problem. I'm not clear that they're ever going to fix it.
Yeah, which is worrisome because it's not affecting every Surface Pro 3 user, but the ones who it is affecting are having really bad Wi-Fi connectivity issues. Like saying that they can be down for minutes where they can't connect, or every time they come out of hibernation or sleep, they can't connect. And it's not just some little like, Wi-Fi speeds aren't good. It's not that. It's like they actually can't
literally
connect
disappears.
at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, so that's not good.
No.
I posted this on Twitter the other day, but you can buy a tiny little USB dongle Wi-Fi adapter for under $10, which is really neat. Except, man, the Surface Pro 3 only has one USB port on it, and that's really irritating. But yeah, I mean, you have to wonder if this is a more endemic hardware issue. Maybe something akin to stuff we see on Apple devices where the antenna just isn't.
Yeah, Apple's never had
Strong
good
enough on
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I don't know. Can't wait till they fix it. I guess we'll see how it goes.
I just sent you.
Are you having trouble with yours or not? Because not everybody does.
Leo, did you send me a Qik?
Yeah. And it should have had a link to the Qik in the Windows Phone store. You got it. He's getting the Qik. It's video text messaging is what it is, basically.
No, Leo, it's Skype Qik.
So we're waiting for a fix for the Surface 3 Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah, it's coming, they say,
Still,
in a number of weeks. You know what? I'll give them this. At least they gave people the heads up this time because it was good. Patch Tuesday didn't come and go, and there was nothing, and they didn't say anything, right? Like, at least they told people that.
Yep. Tap the header to record a new video. Sorry, I'm so excited.
You can respond to me. Respond to
your. How did you send it?
Oh, maybe I didn't send it to the right number. I have two numbers for you. One is work and one is mobile.
Okay.
Let me wait a minute. Quick Flick. Record a bunch of 5-second Quick Flick videos and drop them into any chat anytime. Oh, you can make your own animated GIFs. I'm going to make a Quick Flick. Yeah. Let's see. This is going to be my Quick Flick. So that's a smile. Wait a minute. Stop. See, it's confusing because you tap it.
Yeah.
Now I have a smiley Quick.
Barry Joe, did you install this?
I don't have Windows Phone 8.1 because I'm on Verizon. So
Sorry.
no.
So Paul, should I send it to you both your to 415 or 715? Which one is the one I should send it to?
Neither one of those is right.
That's the last three digits, no?
Whoops.
Oh, say those again.
415 or 715? I sent it to 715. The phone ending in 715.
It's 970 is the number. You don't have that one?
I don't have that number at all.
415 is a home number.
Yeah. 715?
That must be my old
7715 must be really old. All right. Yeah. So basically, I can't send you one. Are you sad? No, probably not.
A little bit. A little bit.
Phone call. Are you calling me right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, sorry, I got to take this. This is important. Hey, Leo, let's talk about Satya Nadella some more.
You hear my... That's my ringtone.
All right.
All right. Oh, man. Go away.
This is my message for you.
Oh, yeah. What is she saying? What is she saying? Can't hear you. You have that. You keep that around?
No.
Can't hear you.
Talk to the hand.
Oh, God.
Surface, we did it. Miracast versus Miracast is our final bullet point. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Microsoft in the next 30 days or so is going to release two Miracast adapters. One of them is aimed at phones, and it has this little NFC charging plate, not charging plate, NFC connection plate, right? So the idea being that you put the device over by the TV or HDTV screen or whatever, and you put the little connection plate anywhere, and if you have a compatible device, you just touch it to the pad, connects automatically, you can mirror your screen. But they also have a dongle which goes behind the TV into the HDMI port. It looks like a Chromecast, right? That's aimed more at computers. It works with phones too, actually. I mean, both these devices will work with anything that works with Miracast. So I'm testing both. It's super hard to test because seriously, like trying to convince anyone in my family, like we need to watch TV, but only over this connection. And you can, put Netflix on a laptop or something. You get that kind of 1,000-yard stare from the kids. But trying to test it because to date, Miracast has not been a great solution for me. But the tip here is that you may not need to get a Miracast device. You may, in fact, already have one because Roku just added this capability to its newest devices. So if you have a Roku 3 or a Roku streaming stick, install the latest software update, and you have Miracast right there. And there's a way you can cast from an Android device, a Windows PC, modern Windows PC like Windows 8 Plus, or a Windows Phone device. Not all of them. Modern, again, newer devices.
Good.
Yeah. It's a wireless wire. It's fun.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Because
he's going to start speaking Latin next.
Dominus Patris et Filius Sancti. Amen. Let us gather together to talk about Citrix ShareFile, and then the back of the book, the good stuff, our tips, our tricks, and beer. That's a reward. If you are in business and you are sharing files via email attachment, shame on you. Well, I don't blame you, really. I mean, sometimes it seems like the only way you can get that contract, the PDF, the spreadsheet to your clients and your customers. But I hasten to point out there are risks involved. For instance, any email is basically a postcard. It can be, read by any server along the way. Furthermore, it's really easy with the modern file sizes to, overwhelm somebody's inbox and get a bounce back. That's no good. Finally, email attachments are how viruses spread, and we don't want you to do that either. So here's what you do. You go to Citrix ShareFile, and you try it free for 30 days. If you're the person in the company that decides this stuff, if not, tell your IT director or your boss or your coworkers. This is what I use to send files to the radio stations. In fact, I'll be doing it right after the show today, is sharing audio ads and bumpers and stuff. I have to do that every week. I've tried all the other file sharing systems, and this is the easiest. It's the best. It does not confuse them. And, you don't always know if the person on the other end is technically savvy. With ShareFile, it's fine. They don't have to be. You can send files of almost any size. With absolute security, you control who can open it, when they can open it, how long it's good for. It eliminates security breaches, clogged inboxes, no more spear phishing attacks. And you don't lose control. Plus, all your ShareFile files are visible all the time on your smartphone or your tablet or your computer. You just log on to your ShareFile account or use their free apps, and there it is. It really is nice. I am a big fan. I sync. I have a couple of ShareFile folders on my computer that I automatically sync. You can use any folder on your computer, by the way. It's really nice that way. And it'll just sync in the background. But you can also upload it. There are a variety of ways. It's actually so flexible. In fact, if you look at the features and tools of ShareFile, you'll see that it is designed for business to make it as easy to use with the desktop widget, the Outlook plugin, the mobile tools. It even supports Right Signature, e-signatures. So it's a great way to get documents signed. Here's the deal. Visit sharefile.com and click at the top of the homepage where it says Podcast Listeners. Click that. That's the way to try this free trial. And make sure you use the offer code WINDOWS so Paul and Mary Jo get credit. You'll get a 30-day free trial. Tell them what industry you're in, and they'll customize it for that industry. Yes, it's HIPAA compliant with SEC regulations and other industries too. Sharefile.com. Click the Podcast Listeners link, the microphone, at the top of the page, and use our offer code WINDOWS. Citrix ShareFile, built by business for business. Mary Jo Foley, Paul Thurrott, giving us the business. Let's start with you, Paul, your tip of the week.
So I have, let's see, I lost the list. So I actually just have picks. So
picks,
I have that
all
tip,
picks all the time. That's all right.
The Roku Miracast receiver functionality, but a bunch of software picks that are kind of all over the map. First, I guess right before the weekend, Microsoft released a very early pre-release version of what they're calling the analog keyboard.
I so
for
weird.
Android Wear, right?
So
My initial reaction to this was somewhat mocking, but actually, as I look at this, I realize this isn't a horrible idea. In fact, if you look at the video that Microsoft made about the keyboard and the way that you enter characters and words and so forth, I actually think it could make sense. Like this might make sense as a keyboard for Android Wear, for a watch. So it's super early release. It's really hard to install. It requires a lot of scripting and craziness. So I don't think anyone normal is going to do it. But this is the start of a really good idea. I actually, within the context of what it is, a watch where you're entering keys for some.
I use Android Wear. I have I love my Android Wear watch, but I don't know. Well, I'll try.
Well, for example, if you were to do it, like you can obviously interact with it via voice. I think that would be the normal way.
That's
but
how
if
you
wanted
normally
to
do it, right?
Yeah. So this provides a secondary input type.
It's an interesting.
Maybe advisable in some circumstances. It looks pretty good.
It's clever.
Yeah.
And it's created by a guy named Wolf Kienzl, so it's got that.
Plus, there's this thing going on with Microsoft Research these days. I'm sure Mary Jo's noticed this, where these guys used to be like the silent partners in the back room that never really had much to say, and like lately they've been releasing stuff, and I think that's kind of cool. So I like the release early, even when it's not ready type thing that's happening at Microsoft now. I think it's perfectly okay for them to do this kind of thing. So. I like to see Microsoft Research getting out there in the world.
Yeah,
to see this
and cross-platform. This is more of that amazing support for other people's stuff.
Yep,
I love that.
So the second pick came about because on Sunday, you may recall or you may know that the new season of The Walking Dead started, and The Walking Dead in my family is like the big family event of the week. Like we watch this together with a bowl of popcorn, and it is just the family thing. I don't know. I can't explain it. I would say. I realize not everyone likes the zombie thing, but now that Breaking Bad is off of TV, it's arguably the best show on TV right now. So anyway, having gotten into The Walking Dead a few years back, I started reading the original graphic novels that this series is based on. And the storylines veer wildly in many cases, but you can see the influences in some of the actual storylines and so forth. And these graphic novels have been collected into collections, I think of 4 graphic novels each. And there were 20 plus of them at last count, and I had been buying them on Kindle. And so over the previous year, I had bought this entire series. I read the whole thing. And so after the show was over, I thought, man, it's been several months since I've read one of these things. Surely one or more new ones have come out. Maybe I could buy those and catch up on this story. And I started searching for it on the Amazon Kindle store, and they're not to be found. And the books are still in my collection, but they're not in the store. You can buy the physical books, like a paper book. And I haven't found out why, although everyone knows Amazon's having these issues with publishers now, and I don't know if that's related or whatever, but my understanding is that these books are in fact gone from all electronic stores. Like you can't get them on Kobo, you can't get them on Nook or whatever. But you can get them on Comixology, right, with an X. Which is a company that I believe was actually just recently bought by Amazon. I'm not.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't usually buy a bunch of comic book apps on my tablet or whatever, but you can buy this app.
This is a really good one, or was. Everybody's worried about what Amazon will do with it.
Yes. So as of now, I have to say, like having read the the graphic novels before on the Kindle, where there's a kind of a nice little navigation way you can go from pane to pane and so forth. The presentation in this app is superior. It's much better than the Kindle version.
Oh, yeah. It zooms in on the panes. And it's really good.
And these books, I don't know if this is true today, but when I bought the latest one, there's only been one actually, is significantly less expensive than they were in the Kindle.
Yeah.
And the experience is wonderful. So there's a Windows Store app, and I think there are apps on iPad and elsewhere. I didn't really look, but there is a Windows version.
There are.
That's a great app. So if you should definitely check this one out. It's really good.
Notco has been singing its praises for some time now.
Okay. Yeah, I never really paid attention to this kind of thing before, but yeah, it's a good one.
Well, they're smart because what they're doing is getting people to try it with The Walking Dead, which is hugely popular.
Yeah,
and then people will go, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, I think they have Marvel comics and other things.
Everything. Like yeah, it's great.
I don't read like the superhero type things, but I'm sure that's all there.
Comixology now on Windows Phone.
Comixology, yeah.
And
okay.
One more.
One more. So this one is from Leon Zanman.
I love this.
Buddy of ours from the Netherlands. And this is a universal app, so it works on both Windows and Windows Phone. And more important, if you buy it on one platform, you get it on the other, which is Monty Python's The Ministry of Silly Walks, which
Are there many of apps like this that are universal?
This is increasingly common. Good. So that obviously they've made it much easier in the latest version of the platform, and then coming in Windows 10, it's going to be even better. But this is kind of a fun little game, but I think the coolest part about it is that it has, like, John Cleese is involved.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's like a side scroller. It's not free. I think it's $1. I think it was $1.29.
$1.29. Looks great. I want this. This looks great.
It's fun. You know, the Monty Python guys are doing their kind of farewell tour, and I assume this is related to their attempts to cash in on their fleeting fame or whatever. But I don't care. It's wonderful. It's just, it's a great.
Looks really fun, and you get to explore a 3D London.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mary Jo Foley, I think it's your turn for a little enterprise schmetterprise. Or whatever they call it.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
Whatever they call it. Your pick of the week.
My pick of the week, you know my fondness for acronyms. My pick of the week is MVMC, Microsoft Virtual Machine Converter, which is a standalone tool for IT pros or solution providers who want to be able to convert virtual machines and virtual disks from VMware hosts to Hyper-V hosts.
Oh, smart.
And also to Windows Azure. So it's one of these tools, you're somebody who's moving or wants to move your customers off of VMware to Azure Hyper-V. This is a handy little tool for you. The version 3.0 of MVMC came out this week, and it adds one other interesting feature. It lets you convert a physical computer running Windows Server 2008 or above, or Windows Vista or above on the client side, to a virtual machine running on Hyper-V. So it's a really handy migration tool, conversion tool. It's free. It's downloadable from the Microsoft download site this week. And I've had people ask me before for the link, so we're going to have it in the show notes. It's too hard to give that link over the air, but
you could Google.
If you're somebody who
Bing it.
We could Bing it. You could Bing it.
It's version 3 of the Microsoft Virtual Machine Converter. I think you could find it with that.
Yes, I think you could find it that way too. So that's my pick for this week.
URLs are passé. Just Bing it.
How did I miss that opportunity to say Bing it?
Bing it.
Bing it.
I had fun last night on Jimmy Fallon with Bing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What happened? I didn't see it.
I won't repeat it.
Okay. We don't need to bring that up today.
They were mocking, They were mocking Bing.
All right. Yeah,
Bada bing.
Even we do. Yeah, we do too.
Yeah. Rumor of the week.
Right. Instead of a code name of the week, I'm going to give you a rumor of the week. And this is really interesting. We know Microsoft's continually adding new features to Cortana and trying to figure out new things that she can do for us. This one is very interesting to people in business. They're going to make it, the rumor is they're going to make it so that if you're running Microsoft CRM, Dynamic CRM, the next version, which is coming out in Q4, you're going to be able to start using Cortana commands with that. So you could actually do things like say to Cortana, could you schedule a meeting for me with so-and-so? Or you could say, could you look up my contact, such and such? And this to me is really interesting because I find Cortana pretty cool and interesting, but I'm like, yeah, I want to see her do more businessy things. Like I want to see her get more applied and into some of the other applications and not just things like football scores, which I know people like that too.
I just used it for football. I literally just used it for.
See, I knew you would.
I did. I literally last night I said,
Cortana, how did the Pats
When is the next time the Patriots play? Thursday night versus the Jets, Cortana told me.
But what if you could do something even better, like create follow-up actions with records?
What could be better than that?
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I should give the person who told me this rumor credit. And I can't really say if it's rumor or fact. His name is Pierre Halzabus. He works for Scribe Software. He is at some event this week, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM User Group Conference somewhere, and he said they actually said this. This is the first I've heard of it. So if he is right, the next version of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, the 2015 version, which comes out this quarter, this calendar quarter, is going to have this. Pretty cool, I think.
Here's what Mr. Fallon had to say last night.
No.
Search engine Bing has a new feature that can predict who will lose in the midterm elections. Because if anyone's good at predicting failure, it's Bing. And it is. What's this thing over there? Bada boom, bada Google. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry. And our beer pick of the week.
Beer pick of the week. We had Founders Day at Rattle and Hum last week. And Founders Beer from Michigan, they have so many good beers. I've made a ton of them, my beer picks. But this one I had never had. It's called Dark Penance. And it's, if you like black IPAs, you're really going to like this probably because it's a double black IPA or an imperial black IPA. So it's very bitter and hoppy, but also it's a black IPA instead of like a double regular IPA. It's a seasonal beer that Founders has just started doing now. I really liked it since I like bitter and hoppy, and I'm a very bitter person, so it was perfect for me.
I like my beer like I like my CEOs.
Yes,
Dark and
bitter and hoppy.
I love the Hieronymus Bosch label.
Or as Windows Phone always autocorrects it, bitter and hippie.
Bitter.
Yeah, me too. I get that autocorrect. How many times?
Not
do I
happy,
say the word
hippie.
It's really, really good though. Really tasty. It's not a light beer. I think it clocks in around 8 or 9%. So,
as you say,
be aware.
Quaffable, not sessionable.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, you might appreciate this, Mary Jo. I've brought her some of the beers from my favorite brewery, and some of the really high alcohol content beers like Imperial Red IPA, which doesn't have that kind of IPA smell when you bring it up to your nose, or it is not particularly IPA-ish, bitter and so forth. They did a version of it, which they might actually be switching the recipe. They let me test it, and it has it's dry hopped. I don't remember the name of the hops, but I think it was something like Amarillo or Amaretto hops or something like that.
Amarillo hops, yep.
Amarillo, and it was so obviously a hoppy IPA beer. When you brought it to your nose, I almost didn't want to drink it. But the interesting thing about it is it was smoother than the regular beer. And he said that the oils and the hops actually can contribute to the kind of viscosity of it. And that, in fact, if you do a hoppy beer right, or you can make it can in fact be smooth and not like obviously hoppy.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. You know IBU measure in beer. This Dark Penance beer is 100 IBUs. That's like about as high as you could be. Yeah.
Super hoppy.
That's the international bittering unit. But it's still, I didn't find it harsh. I thought it was still good.
International bittering unit?
Is that a de facto standard, an actual ISO type standard?
Actual IBU.
Right. So you can gauge like how bitter is something and hoppy going to be. Like something with a higher IBU is going to be
Mary
more
Jo,
hoppy.
it's
and
100 IBUs.
You can tell nerds are into beer if they've got something called the IBU. Exactly. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, as always, a great pleasure and a privilege to work with you on Windows Weekly. We do the show every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, still 1800 UTC. We will shift when we shift away from summertime. That's November 2nd, so you have a few more weeks.
I just asked Cortana that last night. I asked her that too.
Did she know?
That's true.
Yes.
I literally did just last night.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Daylight savings end.
Nobody knows because they keep moving it in our country so that it'll be a surprise.
Those are literally the two biggest concerns I have in the world, literally, are Patriots and daylight savings.
It's getting dark in the morning, and and that's why, yeah.
That's crazy, by the way.
What?
I literally, those are the two things I asked Cortana last night. I'm serious. I really did.
I believe that. It's the inquiring minds wish to know. Mary Jo, of course, is at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog, all about Microsoft. Paul Thurrott is at the super site for Windows, winsupersite.com, but you can also catch his books at the Windows 81 book site. That's windows81book.com. Anything you want to plug? I hear you taking a breath.
Me? No.
Yeah, I
no,
wanna
I'm just.
plug
I've been up.
something.
I'm sorry. You mean Mary?
Mary Jo. Well, actually, I meant you, Paul, but Mary Jo is so quiet. Yes.
I just wanted to say Tech Ed Barcelona is coming up at the end of October, and I'm going this year. So anybody who's going to be in Barcelona and might want to do a meetup, ping me. Maybe we can do something.
Awesome. What fun.
I have some restaurant and bar recommendations for you.
I got an email from somebody who says you're going to be in Norway soon.
Oh, yeah, I am. I'm going to be in Norway. No, sorry, not Norway. I'm going to be in Stockholm and Copenhagen in November.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're going to work
Denmark
it out so that you can do the show from there.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. It's going to be really fun because they wanted to do it live from their event.
Live
so
audience. Paul, you should go.
To what?
To wherever this is in Stockholm.
Stockholm.
I would like to go there. Actually.
Stockholm in November. It's going to be
Nothing
nice
like
and bright.
it. They have like 2 hours of daylight. It's great.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
know. It's going to be great.
I think that's cool that you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's about all
It'll
he's
be
going to
good.
say about that.
No, I would do that. That's neat.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing Stockholm and
beautiful.
Copenhagen. I haven't been to either.
Well, that's
Both
say,
are great.
Since San Francisco, not really eager to jump on a plane right now.
Yeah.
There is
I
no
hear you.
Hotel Lane in Copenhagen yet.
Yeah.
But,
If only, Leo. If only.
if you can't watch the show live, we do love it if you watch live. But if you can't, please tune in, to our on-demand versions, audio and video available at twit.tv/WW. But we also put them up on YouTube, youtube.com/Windows Weekly. We put them up on, iTunes, all of the Zune, whatever it is, the Xbox Music, the podcast apps. You can find it. One of the oldest podcasts in the world. It is Windows Weekly, episode 384. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you, Paul. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye. 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 Yeah, I think, in our year 8 or 9 or something.
Are you really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They stopped hammering. Could it be they
Yeah, they
actually
did.
finished?
No, I'm
See, in
sure
my
they
head,
have
the
not.
noise just continues.
Oh, man, it's so unbelievable. It's so loud in here. Yeah, we're going into week 2 now. And, then there'll be the painting. Yeah, that'll be fun.
No, painting would be
No, but that makes me feel
blessed
so
relief.
ill. The smell. The smell of paint.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
So London Bob, this happens every time we have a time change, says, no, but our times are changing in October. Doesn't matter about your time. UTC never changes.
Just your time does not matter.
BST does not equal UTC. That's why they don't call it Greenwich Mean Time anymore. It's UTC. So that never changes. And the reason that's why our record times change is because UTC does not change for summertime. So we will be actually...
This is the end of daylight savings.
Yeah, we're going to move the show is what we're going to do.
Right.
Because we are going to stay on our regular clock, which is 11 a.m. Pacific, but it'll be 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that changes in relation to UTC because UTC does not change. And that will happen. I don't care what happens in London. That will happen
Literally.
on November 2nd. It's not.
And to be clear, the first day this happens, the first time we record the show after that day, I will be an hour late.
It's
because I have
confusing
no
to
idea
everybody. I understand. I understand. It's confusing to the whole world. And every time it happens, I say, why? Let's not. It's not that we don't want to change back to standard. Let's just leave it at standard. No more of this summertime.
Right. Right now, when you get up in the morning with the kids, it's pitch black outside.
Yep.
And we'll go back to light for a little while, and then we'll be pitch black again in the middle of the winter. And
We should just have one time around the world.
We should.
it should be based around sunrise.
Yep.
That would be confusing.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll talk next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.